Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
Courtney got me 2 weeks in a row with that record button, just
Okay, but this
mid-sentence,
time I said, "Are you ready?" And you said, "Yeah." And so I
and then
hit the
kept
button.
talking. Yeah, I'm ready, but also, hold on, I was gonna say something.
Hold on, I have to talk for another 10 minutes on top of the 30 minutes we've already talked.
Oh, you think at some point in our lives we would run out of stuff to say, but that time has not
No,
arrived yet.
no, it hasn't. It hasn't. We're still out here just bullshitting,
Yeah, that's
just
what we do
bullshitting.
best. I mean, that's really what led to this podcast, okay?
Yeah, it
We're
really
like,
is.
we need the world to get to experience this with us. And a few of you
Hmm.
were like, yeah, I sure do. And here you are, and thank you.
Yeah, we're here together. We're
I
all
also,
in this together.
oh, this, no, okay. Um, Also, I've heard other podcasts say this, and I haven't noticed it personally, but I've heard some people say that like Apple Podcasts stopped like people that you were subscribed to, it kind of like unsubscribed everyone, so you had to like go in and
Hmm.
like resubscribe. I haven't noticed that with the podcast that I listen to, but I have noticed that our downloads have been lower the last few weeks. So maybe just take a look and make sure if you want to be subscribed to us that you still are,
Hmm.
because maybe that happened to you as well.
Yeah. I've heard people talk about it like the end where they're like, make sure you're subscribed, but yeah, I don't
Yeah,
really use
because
Apple Podcasts anymore, so I don't really
yeah,
know
true.
of issues over there.
I've just heard a few people say that it's like been an issue recently, but like I said, I haven't noticed it, but I did notice that our downloads were down, but maybe people just hate us now. They're like 2024, I'm cutting out those morons.
Yeah, that was our New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Stop listening to caffeinated crimes. Um, there was one week that I was like, wow, our downloads are so low. And I was like, we didn't release an episode last week. That was for the week of the 9th. I was like, oh my gosh, it's down in like the hundreds. What happened? I was like, oh,
And you're like, oh, that's no episode. Yeah. But that's
that was a
good
no
that people
episode
are
week.
listening to our other
Like old
episodes
episodes,
in
yeah.
that time. So
But yeah. I was like, whoa, they hate us.
I also want to know because like we've heard from a few like new listeners lately that are like binging. Like when you guys find us, what order are you listening in? Do you like listen to our most recent and then like go backwards, or you like start at the very
Hmm.
beginning and like working your way through? How did you find us? How did we appear? Let us know because
Yeah.
for research purposes and curiosity purposes.
Yeah. That would be really interesting to know. And yeah, I had something and it completely left my brain.
I can
Just
see your eyes just like searching for it. You're like, it's up here somewhere. It's up
I was
here.
like, it was right there. It was right there. What was it? And
You're doing the SpongeBob filing cabinet.
yeah. What's his name? What's his name? um, yeah, I had something and I just completely lost it. Oh, I do know what it was. Wow, this was the dumbest thing ever that I had to search my brain for. I was just gonna say I am interested to also know what people do because I always start from their newest episodes and work backwards. That is the sentence that my brain just had to try to come up with.
Your sentence that you couldn't think of was, yes, I agree.
I'm such a fucking idiot, guys. Who let me be an adult? Who let me have a podcast? Who lets me work a full-time job? Like,
I saw this tweet the
hmm.
other day that was like, oh my God, what was it? By the other day, I mean literally today. So let me see if I can.
Y'all, January has
Uh,
been the longest month of my life.
the
We,
longest
by the
month.
time you're listening to
Holy
this,
shit.
happy February. You fucking made it.
Thank
But
goodness.
we still have like another day, and I'm like, oh Lord.
Yeah, one more full day, and then it's finally February here, this live
And then it's
recording
gonna be
space.
June.
Yeah, I was literally thinking that the other day. I'm like, once we get to February, it's summer, and then it's the holidays.
Yeah.
Like that's how it goes. But I found this tweet I was talking about, and it was like, "Are you an adult? Yeah, but not like on purpose or anything." I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
literally.
like I didn't want to be, I didn't mean to be, but here we are.
I'm at the age now where they tell me I have to be.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh boy.
Do we have
Um,
anything else before we do our update and then get into this episode, Courtney?
I don't think so. But I do have
Okay.
another update. So I'll let you take this update and then I'll
Okay.
read the second
Perfect.
update.
So our update for one of our two updates this week. In 2018, Tex MacGyver was found guilty of the felony murder of his wife, Diane MacGyver. We did cover this case in episode 74, which I did not realize it was like that early. I mean, I guess it's kind of,
So I know that we did this case forever ago. And then when you were like, there's an update, I was like, what? That case was done, closed, and good. What are you
uh-huh.
talking about?
Yeah, that's what we thought. But in June of 2022, so there's like two updates, but one of them's like a year and a half old, so our bad. In June of 2022, the Supreme Court reversed his convictions because the trial court denied the request to charge the jury on a lesser involuntary manslaughter charge. So the conviction was reversed. He was up for retrial, but then he did plead guilty this week to involuntary manslaughter and reckless conduct and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. So his total sentence is now 15 years, with 8 of them to be served in prison, and then he can get parole, and he is getting credit for time served. So he'll be out here any day, not any day now, but in just a few years. I mean, he's
Yeah,
just a few
and
years
not
left
that
of that.
long.
But yeah, like I said, that was I looked up, it came out in and we released the episode in 2021, I believe. So it was before even like the June 2022 update, which also made me think,
Okay, I guess I was thinking that because I was like, I don't remember any updates in this case. So
no,
that makes sense that we did it before the
exactly.
reversal and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we need to start doing some like Google flags for like cases that we cover so we can get updates when they happen
That's true,
because
yeah.
I just happened to see this one on Dateline's Instagram because they also covered this case. So yeah, maybe we need to do some Google alerts for all of our old cases so we don't leave you guys
Yeah.
hanging if there's any
We'll
updates.
just go through, I'll go through and like Google them all and see,
There we go.
Google the relevant ones and see if there's any updates.
Yeah, a little side project because we have so much free time to do that.
So much free time.
What's one more thing?
And then my update is in regards to Alex Murdaugh, and that is they were trying to do a motion for a new trial based on jury tampering, but those claims did not go through, basically. So that
Hmm.
motion for a new trial has been denied. So it doesn't look like,
Yeah.
I mean, he might still get a new free trial on something, but not on those jury tampering claims.
Yeah. Yeah, which when we heard his attorney speak at CrimeCon in September, they seemed pretty sure that this was gonna go through and
They were confident.
they spoke a lot about the witness tampering and yeah, I don't know where that went, but apparently it's
Not
going
in their
nowhere.
favor.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is also, I mean, not saying, I don't know if Alex Murdaugh did it, just heads
Yeah.
up, I don't know. Um, it's also not to say there's not some corruption in
Oh
his
yeah.
motion too.
Yeah.
So,
Would not be surprised
or
at any of that.
yeah, but I don't know because I don't know.
Yeah, none of us know anything, so I don't know. Here, listen to us talk for another hour about nothing. Here we go.
Mhm.
No, so this is a very interesting case. Had you heard of this case, Courtney?
I have not.
I had not heard of this case either. My dad told me about it, so shout out to my dad and also just highlighting that this was a recommendation from my dad. So hopefully he enjoys this one. Um, our sources for this episode are a couple of articles from the Tennessean, the tasteofcountry.com, an article from them, and also this it was like a CEU session for Tennessee attorneys held by the Nashville Bar Association called The Stringbean Murders, Death in Baker Holler. So I did watch 3 hours of an attorney CEU. So
Oh, that sounds interesting.
it was very interesting. It was very extremely technical, so I didn't get into like all of that, but it was designed to be like continuing ed courses for attorneys who are like,
Hmm.
I don't know the right terminology, but like maintaining their bar license, certificate,
Yeah.
registration, whatever it's called.
I think it's a license,
The
but
thing they have to do to keep practicing law, that thing. Um, And so it like got into like all the technical aspects of like this case and the trial and everything for them to like have that education piece. But it was very interesting. But I think that's the first time in the history of this podcast that that has been a type of source that we've used. So,
That's
you
true. I
know,
don't think that's been
yeah.
a source that we've really used that much.
But I learned a lot from that because there weren't there were like two articles and then that was it. I don't know.
Hmm.
There wasn't a ton of other information. But anyway, that being said, just going to get into it. The murder of a Grand Ole Opry star and his wife at their home outside of Nashville, Tennessee in 1973 shook the country music world and shattered their sense of small town security. So, David Akeman was born on July 4th, 1914, or maybe 1916. Sources differ, and they did say in that presentation that, like, a lot of stuff surrounding his life was, like, kind of lore, even the year he was born, like, acknowledging that it's not
Hmm.
really known because it's kind of different in different places. Um,
Yeah.
but around that time, he was born in Jackson County, Kentucky. He was one of five children. He started playing the banjo as a teenager at neighborhood dances, and he did drop out of school in the sixth grade and started working for his father. He left home at 18 years old and worked in the Conservation Corps and played semi-pro baseball for a short time. And in 1935, he performed in a talent show and he impressed others with his banjo playing. That kind of led to him touring with various groups playing the banjo. Aikman also served in the Army for 6 months during World War II, and eventually he joined Bill Monroe's band. So Monroe had already played at the Grand Ole Opry, so he was kind of like a bigger name in country music at that time. So Monroe was impressed by Aikman's banjo playing and like wanted him to play in his band. But what really got his attention was his baseball skills, because the band would like drum up interest by playing baseball games against locals, like when they were touring. So like, oh, we're
Hmm.
coming to the city to like play, and like we're gonna play like a pickup baseball game first, like us against you or whatever. So
That sounds
to
so
like,
fun.
right? I was like, what a cool idea to like get people like to want to come out to like see them play or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, so he was impressed with his banjo playing, but also he was like, wow, you're a really good baseball player too. We also need that for the band. So
Double win. He's a jack of all trades over here. He's
he
perfect.
really is. He really is. So Aikman joined the Grand Ole Opry himself in 1942. He was a very like gangly and peculiar person, which is how he earned the nickname Stringbean Akeman. If you saw the title of this episode, that is why it's called the Stringbean Murders. Um, he would wear like baggy shirts, like tucked into like tiny pants and belted like just above the knee. So just get a visual image of this guy. So that was kind of his
Hmm.
like signature like show uniform. Um, he was also said to have used apple vinegar as shaving lotion and rubbing alcohol for deodorant. So just a lot of like quirky
I
things.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to like fact check this with my mom, but pretty sure my papa used rubbing alcohol as deodorant
Oh,
because he was allergic to something in deodorant. And
interesting.
obviously back in the day they didn't have native deodorant and all this
Yeah.
bullshit. But I don't know if it was rubbing alcohol or something else, but he used something like that where it would just try to like
Oh,
kill
yeah.
the odor, like kill the stuff because he like
Mm-hmm.
couldn't wear deodorant because it made him like break out so badly.
Interesting. I mean, that makes
So,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to ask my
Interesting.
mom exactly what it was.
Yeah,
But
let us know. We need to follow up for sure. Um, and Aikman's signature phrase was "How sweet it is," which he borrowed from Jackie Gleason. He would sing songs such as "I'm the man that rode the mule around the world" and "How many biscuits can you eat?" He would also slaughter, smoke, and eat pigs and hunt wild ginseng to sell for extra money. He did refuse to eat beef or dairy though. So even though he would like kill his own pigs, he wouldn't eat any cows or anything that came from a cow.
did he
Um,
any particular reason why, or we just
I
don't
couldn't,
know? Just
no, I couldn't find that. I did find at one point that like he couldn't even stand the smell of like steak cooking. So like his wife like didn't get to eat steak very often because of that. But I
mm-hmm.
don't know like what led to this beef
Yeah, because I
repulsion.
know there's one religion. Is it Hindu where the cow is very
I think so.
like it is a
Like a sacred, yeah.
yeah, like a sacred creature, but I can't imagine in Tennessee in the 1940s this guy's Hindu.
I mean, you never know,
You
but
never know.
but not that I could find anywhere as far as like a specific reason. And he did also live on a farm in Goodlettsville, just outside of Nashville. So Stringbean did not originally like sing or perform comedy, but he did learn to do both of those things like over time as he had like more involvement like in show business. And he was also known for keeping wads of $100 bills in his overalls. He liked to carry cash because he didn't trust banks after the Great Depression, so he just like had it on him instead. He also called his banjo the five, as in the five-string banjo. Like he'd be like, "Yeah, it's just me and the five, just me and the five." Um, and he was just so happy to be earning a living, like making music, doing what he loved, just was absolutely loving life. Stringbean married Estelle Stanfill from Maury County in 1945. He also left Monroe's band that year, and he and Estelle traveled the country and Canada, like on his music tours. The Akemans were best friends with banjo player Grandpa Jones and his wife Ramona Jones, who was also a fiddler and singer. And Ramona described the Akemans as gentle, loving people who loved nature, spent most of their free time fishing, just like living on the land. Grandpa Jones once said they were just about as happy a couple as I'd ever seen. I think they suited each other the best of any two people I've ever seen. Just like, what a sweet sentiment to have someone like say about
Mm-hmm.
you, you know?
Yeah.
And the two couples actually bought a farm together in 1955. So the Jones lived in a house closer to the road, and the Aikmans lived in the cabin behind it. So they insisted that the Jones take like the larger house because they had children and they didn't. So they're like, we'll live, in the smaller cabin. Like you guys can live there. But they just like bought this farm together with their best friends and all lived on it
Mm-hmm.
together. It was so cool.
I see the ideas in your head. I'm not living on a farm.
I already tried to get you to buy a house together for like 6 months, okay? And
Why
you
don't we
would
buy
not.
condos in the same buildings near downtown?
Okay. Okay.
I'll do
We'll
that.
we'll make a compromise. Okay. I still have to be able to like walk 3 feet and knock on your door though. That's all I want, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I need to be closer to downtown.
I just, like Andrew said, just need to be able to send our child over to see you. Yeah, of course you could go to Aunt Courtney's. Bye. Have fun. Like, well, you can't say no, and she's literally standing right there.
I didn't hear the door knocking. I don't know what happened.
Oops, I was taking a nap. My bad. Oh. The Aikmans also hunted squirrels often and like was said that they would get so many of them that they just like got tired of eating them because they just like were really good at it. And everyone who knew them said they just greatly enjoyed each other's company, being around each other. And Stringbean never learned to drive, so Estelle would just like drive him everywhere they went in his like really cute Cadillac. It was adorable. Eventually, Stringbean would go on to perform on the syndicated TV show Hee Haw starting in 1969. So Hee Haw was like a sketch comedy variety show that focused on country music and like humor and like rural settings. Um, Although they mostly lived modestly, Stringbean's one extravagance was buying a new Cadillac every year, and he always paid in cash. So like this couple just like lives in this tiny cabin, like lives off the land, but they're buying a new Cadillac every single year. But that's the one thing that they're
Hmm.
splurging on. Just,
Yeah,
I love
I
it.
get that. That's your car is your thing, and you're like, that's
Yeah,
just what I want.
exactly. They loved their life in the country, and they even told friends that it was so safe that they could just like leave a bucket of cash on their front porch for the summer, and it would be there when they returned, which, as we'll see, was um sort of looking for.
Like, eerie in hindsight.
Yeah, so just eerie in hindsight, like. So on November 10th, 1973, Stringbean performed at the Grand Ole Opry for what would be the last time. He played his banjo and sang Y'all Come and Hillbilly Fever. And after the show, he hung out backstage with Estelle and the Jones family. And that week, Stringbean and Grandpa Jones were planning a week-long hunting trip in Virginia. So Estelle and Ramona were going to have a special dinner together Tuesday evening. Like I said before, like Stringbean hated red meat, like even the smell. So this would be a rare opportunity for Estelle to enjoy a steak dinner. So they're hanging out with their friends together backstage. Stringbean then went outside and gave an interview to freelance writer Stacey Harris. He spoke about the popularity of the TV show Hee Haw, and he also told the story of how his nickname began. He said in Lexington, Kentucky, when he first started playing banjo, Ace Martin couldn't remember his name, so he said, "Come here, Stringbean, and play us a tune." Because again, he was a very like tall, lanky man.
Hmm.
So that's kind of where his nickname started, and then just stuck with him. So that night, Stringbean went on stage for a second performance at 10:18 p.m. with Kurt Gibson. They sang "Going to the Grand Ole Opry to Make Myself a Name" and "Hot Corn, Hot Corn." They then went backstage and rehearsed a song for next week's Opry performance. And eerily enough, that song was called "Lord, I'm Coming Home." It was the very last song that he ever played. So Stringbean then changed into his overalls, which had $3,182 in cash sewn into a pocket, which would be approximately $22,000 in today's money. He put his stage outfit in a bag that also had a 22 caliber pistol, and Estelle had $2,150 cash in her bra. So the couple set off for Goodlettsville in their Cadillac. It took them about 30 minutes to drive home. And when he got home, Stringbean must have realized that something was wrong. So Estelle stayed in the car, and Stringbean went into his house with his pistol. And two young men, one wearing a Halloween mask and one wearing a stocking over his head, were waiting inside the house. Their tiny cabin had been destroyed, and the robbers knew that the Aikmans had a lot of cash, and so they were trying to rob them. When they couldn't find it in the cabin, they assumed the Aikmans had the cash on them, so they decided to wait at their house for them to come home and rob them. Um, they had heard about how Stringbean was known to like flash his cash to his friends. So they're like, okay, we know that like he has it on his person a lot. We'll just wait here for him. And when the couple got there, the robbers were listening to the Grand Ole Opry on the radio, so they would know like when to expect him home. Stringbean hesitated when he entered the cabin, then he started shooting when he realized what was happening. One of the men also had a pistol and shot back and killed Stringbean. Estelle had started moving towards the house and then ran away when she heard the gunshots, and the man who shot Stringbean ran outside and shot Estelle in the back of the head. The two men searched the Aikmans for cash, but they were only able to get $250 out of Stringbean's pocket. So remember, the rest of the cash was like hidden either in her bra or in Stringbean's like sewn in pocket in his overalls. Like it wasn't just like a normal pocket. So the robbers were like quickly searching because they were trying to get away and they didn't find the bulk of the cash they were looking for. They did also steal Stringbean's bag, Estelle's purse, and then they drove away in the couple's station wagon.
The next morning, just before 7 a.m., Grandpa Jones packed up his hunting equipment and headed to the Aikman's cabin to pick Stringbean up for their hunting trip. So by this time, the Jones had moved away for a bit, and then they moved back and they had bought a different house, so they didn't live on the same property anymore. That's why they kind of had to drive to go pick him up. The Jones house was 2 miles away, and when Grandpa arrived that morning, he didn't see smoke coming from the cabin's chimney. So as he got closer, he saw Estelle's body in the yard next to a hickory tree, and he got out of his car and walked toward the cabin where he saw Stringbean's banjo case on the front porch. When he went inside, he discovered the body of his best friend, Stringbean Akeman, and the phone wire to the cabin had been cut, so Grandpa had to go back to his own house and tell his wife what happened and call the police. So Grandpa and Ramona Jones then returned to the cabin to wait for the police. So Stringbean was shot once through his hand and chest, and the bullet exited his back. And Estelle was shot 3 times in the back and head as she was running away from the house. And the final shot was while Estelle was on her knees. So the Aikman's murder became front page news as a manhunt went underway for the killers. So many country music stars who performed at the Opry were used to being friendly with their fans, and they now started second guessing that and considered hiring security because they were like used to like we just let people like hang out, whatever, and now it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, maybe we shouldn't.
Like it was such a like I mean, now we know like Nashville is like a big town, but it wasn't really as much then, and especially in like some of
Mm-hmm.
the surrounding areas, and it was just like that small town feel. And it's like, yeah, of course we like hang out with the fans who come to like watch the Opry and everything. And then now it's like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't as safe as we thought it was.
Yeah. A week after the Aikman's murder, Jimmy Widener was robbed, beaten, and shot to death in an alley in Nashville. Widener often played the Opry as Hank Snow's rhythm guitarist. So, 4 days after the murders, November 14th, police received a call from Felix Elliott, a truck driver being held in jail on arson charges. He said he had information he wanted to share in exchange for leniency. Elliott said 3 members of the same family, John, Doug, and Roy Brown, had discussed robbing the Aikmans in front of him the week before the murders. So, police interviewed another younger brother in the Brown family who also said his brother and cousin had discussed robbing the Aikmans. A reward was announced for any information leading to the murderers of Stringbean and Estelle Akeman, and a co-worker of Doug Brown's called police and said one of his friends, Bill Downey, told him that Doug had told him he was going to get some money by robbing someone who was with the Grand Ole Opry. So these people are just telling everybody. Like,
Yeah, they were just telling anyone who would listen to them.
yeah, for sure. Police started following the Browns everywhere they went, and they were able to convince Bill Downey to wear a wire at work, and the Browns confessed everything to him. So, didn't take them hard to like get him to like start talking about this.
Yeah, not at all.
So Bill Downey did receive a reward of $17,000, which I assume was a lot in today's money.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
I
and
didn't do
Felix
that
Elliott,
conversion, but yeah.
yeah, well, String Bean had what, like $3,000 on him, and that was like $22,000 in today's money. So
Yeah.
17, that's gotta be a lot of money.
That is a lot. Goodness, I didn't even,
That'd be a lot in today's standards.
right?
And Felix Brown received a $5,000 reward. So Roy Brown's 17-year-old girlfriend, Bonnie Duff, said that she saw John and Doug Brown bring a pillowcase with some items into Roy's home the night of the murders. A linen lineup was conducted using pillowcases from the Aikmans' home and other pillowcases, and Bonnie was able to identify the same pillowcase that was found in the Aikmans' home.
Which it was funny because they mentioned that in like the Attorney Continuing Ed series that I watched. And he was like, I think that's the first time a linen lineup has ever been used in the court of law.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever
Like,
heard that. I know. I'm like, those must have been very distinctive pillowcases, I
I
would
guess so. But like, yeah, they just like
think.
lined up like all these different pillowcases and like had the one that like was, and they knew, okay, yeah, they had the same one
Hmm.
at their house that was like left behind in the set or whatever. But I just thought that
Yeah,
was funny.
that is funny. Downey also told detectives that John Brown traded in his Buick right after the murders, and witnesses were able to identify Brown's Buick as the one parked outside the Aikmans the night of the murders. So 22-year-old cousins Doug and John Brown were arrested for the first-degree murders of David Stringbean Akeman and Estelle Akeman. Doug confessed that he started making his plans the week before. He parked their car on the side of the Akeman street with the hood up like they were having trouble, and the cousins then broke a window and entered the house. They knew the Aikmans had a lot of cash, so they were searching the cabin for it, but they weren't able to find any. They turned on the radio and started listening to the Grand Ole Opry and then realized that Stringbean was playing that night. So they decided to just wait for him to come home and rob him because they assumed he must have the cash on him since it wasn't in the cabin. So the Browns drank beer and wine that was in the Aikman's refrigerator while they listened to the rest of the Opry to know when to expect String Bean to come home, which is just like so diabolical that you're gonna like drink this
Right?
man's drinks and listen to him play on the radio and then just waiting for him to come
Yeah,
home.
exactly. Just cold. Just so cold.
Yeah. So when Stringbean arrived home, he surprised the Browns by shooting at them. Doug knocked Stringbean's pistol out of his face and knocked him to the ground, fighting for the pistol. Stringbean's gun was firing, and Doug said he didn't realize at the time that John walked up and shot Stringbean during the struggle. And he saw Estelle in the doorway screaming, and then she ran away. And Doug said John ran after her and shot her on her knee, shot her like while she was on her knees, while she was begging for mercy. Another family member, Charles Brown, was arrested as an accessory after the crime, and the charges were eventually dropped because at the time you couldn't be charged with an accessory if the defendant was a blood relative. So,
Did you know this? Because I
I
did
no,
not.
no clue. Didn't know that.
I just thought that was insane. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, blew my
And
mind.
that wasn't changed until 1989. So, not that long ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Like a good number of years after this
34 years
happened.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
That is crazy. So, Charles Brown would later testify about Doug and John's involvement and that he wasn't involved. He also said that John had hated shooting Estelle because she begged him not to. And Stringbean had taped a year's worth of Hee Haw episodes before his death, so he did continue to appear on television after his death and throughout the trial of his killers. So, I'm sure just so
Mm.
like weird to like watch
Yeah.
on TV being like knowing that was like before his death like
Especially not that it would like be less weird for something else, but it's just like this like fun like country like comedy music. You know, like it's
mhm.
like a funny sketch show and so you like if you're living in that area at the time and you're like, "Oh, I'm watching this," and then I'm watching like media coverage of this man's murder trial like all at the same
Like I
time.
even think it's weird today like when I'm watching a movie or like a TV show being like, wow, I can't believe that person's like not here anymore. That's
Yeah,
so weird. But to be
definitely.
like, these are new episodes I've never seen before airing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, this like trial is going on.
Yeah, exactly.
John Brown originally pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but was later found sane. And Doug and John Brown's trials started on November 28th, 1974. And the trial was packed every day. And many witnesses testified about what Doug and John had told them about their plans to rob the Aikmans and even shooting them after Stringbean showed up with a pistol. Again, they're telling anyone who'll listen, basically, at this
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
So Bill Downey was one of the witnesses, and he was given police custody in a nearby hotel room to keep him safe during the trial. So Doug pleaded guilty for the second-degree murder of Stringbean and not guilty for the murder of Estelle. And Doug testified that he only intended to rob the Aikmans and that John was the one who made the decision to kill. So one witness testified that John and Doug had told them which lake they threw some stolen items into and that also the gun. And police were able to locate them like where they said they were. So this is a pretty valid witness if they're like they told me they threw it here, police find it, like
Mm-hmm.
pretty good evidence.
Yeah.
um,
I think you're telling the truth. Yeah.
And when the trial concluded, the jury found both defendants guilty of first degree murder. They were sentenced to 99 years in prison for each murder, and the jury recommended that the sentences run concurrently, but the judge overruled this and changed them to consecutive, which that judge was just really mad, I guess.
Yeah, he was like, "No, I'm gonna make it worse for you."
Yeah. In 1974, Kurt Gibson, who played alongside Stringbean, replaced Jimmy Widener and started playing for Hank Snow. They were scheduled to play together at Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, and one of the Brown cousins was assigned to carry the sound equipment. Hank Snow found out about this and canceled the show. He was like, nope, we're not doing that.
Yeah, he's like, "We're not playing here anymore." Nope.
Nope. So in 1977, John Brown filed an appeal claiming ineffective assistance of counsel, including cocaine use, among many other things. And the appeal was denied and his conviction upheld. 7 years after their conviction, Doug Brown filed an appeal and said his rights were violated based on ineffective counsel for his co-defendant, which is the same argument John Brown presented that had already been denied. So they're just
Which,
trying whatever they can, I guess.
like, you waited 7 years, and then you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna come up with a really good appeal." Okay, I'm gonna use the same one he used for his attorney, not even for your own
Yeah,
attorney. You said
for
my rights were
him.
violated because his attorney was bad, so I'm gonna use that one.
Yeah.
I don't care. He already used it. I'm gonna use that one. See what happens.
He's like, it's been a little bit of time, so
Maybe they
maybe you'll
forgot.
accept it.
Yeah,
Um, this appeal was denied
yeah.
also. Um, Doug then filed another appeal saying his attorney should have asked for separate trials for John and Doug. This was also denied. The attorney speaking in the presentation said they likely would have been tried separately by today's standards, but that he still believed both would have been found guilty. So even though they probably should have been tried separately, it's uncommon that they would have been found not guilty if they
Hmm.
had separate trials.
Yeah, because they were saying like, yeah, like I see where he's coming from. Like they probably should have had separate trials, just kind of like due to the nature of one actually did both of the killings and the other was just there. Um, but he's like, I think they still would have been both found guilty as well.
Yeah. And in July of 1993, both Browns, at 43 years old, went before the parole board seeking parole. There was a strong opposition in Nashville, specifically from members of the Grand Ole Opry. And at the parole board, John Brown said he was drunk the night of the murders because he was going through a divorce, and he just really doesn't remember much of what happened because that totally excuses you from any liability in anything you do.
Yeah, right?
He also said sobering up in prison helped him realize he was an alcoholic and that he made a mistake. So I guess at least he is acknowledging some guilt and some like accountability for this.
Yeah.
The parole board denied parole for both John and Doug. Doug was denied parole again before dying in prison on January 8th, 2003. And John went through several more parole hearings and was denied each time. In 2008, his wife spoke on his behalf and he received letters of support from the community. His wife spoke and said that she had married him after the crimes, but before the sentencing, and that he was a good man. which I understand, but I thought he got sober in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is this
Mm-hmm.
the right one? Yes, John
Yeah.
is okay.
Yeah.
John and Doug, I made sure I wasn't getting them confused in my head. Yeah. So, okay. I mean, maybe you saw
Like,
potential. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. You
like
saw potential, but
okay. So when the murders happened, he was going through a divorce, which is why he was drunk, which is why he murdered someone, because, all of those dots connect so easily. Um, and between
and
the
didn't
time
the
that you
trial
murdered
happen in
them,
like the same month?
I think it was the next year.
Oh, okay, still within a year.
Yeah, it
That's way
was,
too
yeah,
close.
like literally 1 year, like to the month later. But yeah, so in that 1 year period, when this man is on trial for two first-degree murder charges, like, yeah, I'm gonna marry him. Yeah, I'm gonna marry him. I don't
You know, women sometimes love the idea of changing a man.
know. Ain't
I know
that the truth?
somebody who was, I don't really know her relation to me. I just know she's in the family somehow. Um,
Spill all the family tea, Courtney.
we all have that person in our family who like we know we're related to somehow, but don't ask me how.
Yeah.
But she with the church groups were going to like prisons to like preach the good word,
hmm
and she fell in love with a prisoner there who
Oh,
was in there for some pretty bad stuff, but he was getting out and they got married.
oh, well,
So, like I
it
said,
happens.
there are some women out there who just think they can change a man. And maybe John is changing. I don't know. Can't speak for John Brown, but
But like also, it's not like you met this man later in life and you're like, oh, like he's gonna get out soon, like I
mhm.
can hang on. Like you married him before he was sentenced to a very long time, 99
That was
years
some dedication.
consecutively in prison.
That is a long distance relationship.
Ooh. Anyway,
How much you know, I'll never mind. Because then it spoils the next few sentences. So I'll
yeah.
say it after I said that.
Okay.
So two of the parole board members voted for parole, but over 1,000 community supporters signed a petition to keep him in prison. So the other parole board members voted to deny parole. In 2014, John underwent a psychological evaluation to determine his tendency towards violence. This time, he testified the robbery was originally Charles' idea and that he panicked and started shooting Stringbean when he arrived with his pistol and started shooting. So, wildness. But either way,
Mm-hmm.
in 2014, at 64 years old, John Brown was granted parole. Um, my sentence I was going to say, how much do you think they fought once they had to live in the same house again together?
That's very
She's
true.
like, I have been in this house for like 40 years alone.
Right. And
um,
now I gotta live with you.
anyway,
Oh,
which anyway, does not matter that much. That was just my thought that I held on
yeah.
to for a little bit. But yeah, he is out now.
He's out
John
now.
Brown, pretty common name, so I bet you can easily go under the radar.
Yeah, I
But
couldn't find
those,
anything about where he is today. Like I tried to see if there was any like
hmm
there were several articles like at the time he was released because again there was a lot of public opposition to it. Like people were very angry about it. Like you can find tons of like message boards of people country music fans and Nashville natives being super upset that he was being released. But I can't find anything about what he's doing now, where he's been since then, and he's probably trying to keep a low profile for that
yeah,
reason.
sounds like it. But those are just the horrific murders of David Stringbean Akeman and Estelle Akeman
Yeah, just like
over
they're
money.
yeah, I'm like they're all senseless, but like, when it's something like this that you're just like, really?
Yeah, it's
Which it does not in any way to justify anything. It does seem like they intended just to rob them, that they did not
hmm
go with the intent of killing them. But I mean,
But what do you think is going to happen when you
exactly.
in the country and you
Mm-hmm.
come home and someone's in your home? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
What
Yep.
do you think is going to happen?
And like some of Stringbean's
You live
friends
in
were
the
like,
South.
yeah, like that's how it goes here.
I would expect
And
that today. If I broke into someone's house and they came home, I would expect to get to shot.
exactly.
Like,
Exactly. Yeah. And it was really sad because like some of Stringbean's friends were like, he clearly knew something was wrong, which is why he told Estelle to stay in the car and he went to the house. They're like, if he would have just turned around and like left and been like,
yeah.
but he's like, no, this is my house. I'm not going to let someone else, take what's mine. And so
Mm-hmm.
he's like, no, I'm gonna go in there and confront them.
Yeah.
And but yeah, just like, oh, I'm gonna steal the money. Oh, I didn't get enough money. Oh, you're playing at the Opry tonight. I'll sit here and just listen so I know when to expect you. And I'm gonna drink your beer and your wine and wait for you to get home so I can rob you. And obviously the string bean situation was one thing, and then chasing Estelle down and shooting her in the back and begging for
Mm-hmm.
mercy, like that's a completely different like
Yeah.
level to like, oh, it was a robbery that went wrong and
Yeah.
like that's just a whole different
I mean,
level.
the second string bean comes in with a gun, you're just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, sorry, we're
Yeah,
leaving. And you just leave. Like, you
yeah,
don't start fighting it. Like,
exactly. It's just so horrific.
yeah.
But yeah, again, thank you to my dad for this recommendation.
Hmm.
That being said, Courtney, what's your perk of the week?
My perk of the week is that for all of my Bravo girlies, the day of this recording, happy Vanderpump Rules Day because Vanderpump Rules is back and I cannot wait to watch the episode tomorrow because we are recording, so I couldn't watch it tonight.
Also, want to say I told Courtney we could switch our recording days so that she could watch it live. Okay, I did tell her that. I did make that
I'm
sacrifice, and she did not take me up
she
on it.
she did, but it does feel a little silly to
No such thing.
but it'll come on Peacock the next day, so I can just like watch
Okay,
it. I
perfect.
like to have like a podcast or like a bullshit TV show like playing on the background like while I'm working, so
Hmm.
I can just kind of throw it on because yeah, and I won't have to watch ads, because I have
There
ad-free
you go.
Peacock because when you binge Bravo shows, you cannot have ads.
You're done with the ads.
But yeah, so that is my perk of the week. Is that Vanderpump Rules is back, and like we get to dive more into like Scandival. I don't know. I feel like we're all probably sick of Scandival at this point, but we get to dive more because it's like this was filmed like during the summer, like right after
Mm.
it happened, and so we kind of get to dive more into that freshness and see what's going on. But yeah, I'm just so excited because I don't know. I loved Vanderpump Rules more than any other reality show I've watched so far. I mean, I'm really enjoying Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Don't spoil it for me. I don't know. I'm not there yet. But I'm just really excited for another season. Um,
That sounds very exciting. I'm very happy for
yeah.
you.
Yep, I've become a Bravo girly. Who am I? But
Yeah, embrace it. Just
and I love it.
yeah.
I love women screaming at each other for an hour. I don't know what to tell you. Women and men, I guess. I don't know. It's the perfect escape like from life.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that is my perk of the week. Jacqueline, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is also a TV show. Just a decade behind, like I like to do, with my content.
Mm-hmm.
So Andrew and I started watching Fargo. It's been a couple weeks now. We're still only like 8 episodes in because, we have time for like maybe 2 episodes a week and then life is crazy. But we've been watching the first season of Fargo and I'm loving it so far. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it came out in 2014, so it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just really loving it so far, and actually something that Andrew and I both enjoy, which doesn't happen very often because we usually have very different tastes. But it's got my like murder stuff and then other stuff that I don't know, he likes something about it, so I guess he's
Yeah.
but yeah, it's very good. Very enjoyable so far.
Yeah. That's on our list. We finally finished Ozark after like way
Oh,
too long
nice.
because of football season. So now we're
Yep.
starting Succession. We started the
Nice.
first episode tonight, so
Very nice.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
But TV
Good
shows are
times.
fun.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah, it's funny. Now that football season is, well, almost over. We still have the Super Bowl to go. But now that we're
Hmm.
like, our teams are out and we're winding down football season, both of our perks of the week are other TV shows because we're like, oh, we can
Yeah.
watch TV again.
We can
Like,
watch TV again. Yeah.
it's so exciting. But yeah, so let us know your thoughts on this case. If you guys are local and you guys have any other additional information that we didn't cover that you kind of know just
Hmm.
from family stories and whatever, please let us know. Let us know what TV shows you're watching. This comes out next week. Let us know who you want to win the Super Bowl. Who are you going for
Hmm.
here? Um, I'm going for the 49ers personally. I don't know about Courtney, but yes, Courtney is. I do
I
know that.
yeah, probably yeah, for the 49ers, but I'm also scared because the last time we had the Super Bowl matchup was a month before the pandemic started.
Oh,
So,
that is true. Hmm.
Yeah, so the last time these two teams,
Well,
it was February 2020. So everybody be looking over your shoulder when March 13th rolls around for
yikes.
whatever's gonna happen next. But yeah, 49ers. I really wanted the Ravens for my in-laws, but that didn't happen. And um yeah, I guess 49ers. Chiefs, they're winning it too much.
Yeah, I'm
I
done with
can't.
them. Yeah. Let somebody else have a chance. But the 49ers have also won it a good number of times too.
Yeah,
So, I
it's
mean,
true. So I
not
just
a
don't
great
really care. I'm
year.
just in it for the food.
Yeah, not a great year for the Super Bowl, but that's okay. There's always next year. Um, I think I said all the things that I want. No, I did not. We are also on patreon.com/caffeinated crimes. If you are a patron and you're listening to this, or if you're not a patron and you would become a patron, depending on the answer to this question, what do you want us to cover in February? Because we do not have
Hmm.
a February bonus decided on yet. So send us
No, I
your
had a
suggestions.
possible idea that I forgot about until you just said that. But I would have to see if I could, how much info there is on it.
Okay.
I had an
We'll
idea. I'll tell you when we get
yeah,
off. But
we'll recap off mic. Yeah, so let us know what you guys would want to see for this
mhm.
upcoming bonus and what would
Upcoming
make you
bonuses in
join.
the future. Yeah, like
Yeah,
what kind of content do you want over there?
definitely.
And if you wouldn't mind to make sure you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts so that you are
Yes.
getting that download every single week and you're not missing an episode. Make sure same thing on Spotify. Nothing crazy happened. If you could give us 5 stars on those platforms and then YouTube, if you could like subscribe, anything like that. And you were gonna say something else.
Also, I was gonna say, if you do listen somewhere like YouTube, if you have like a podcast app that you can subscribe so we still get those downloads, that would be great too, because it's
That's
all there
true.
on YouTube, but it helps our numbers on like the podcast apps if we get more downloads that way. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be lovely.
Yeah. And then you could also just grab your partner's phone, your mom's phone, your dad's
Yes.
phone, your friend's phone, and just go. You can hit mark as played. And I think that
Yes.
counts.
I think so.
Just,
I hope.
I think.
I think as long as
I
it's
don't know.
downloaded. I don't know.
Just hit subscribe and just tell them to hit mark as played each week. Just
And
that's what
then
I do because I
go
don't
to
listen again. I've
reviews.
listened to it like 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, no, we're done. And then go to reviews and leave us a 5-star review from their phone too. So, full
Yes, that would
circle.
be perfect. But yeah, I think that's about it. In the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.